And so, like, I'm doing a lot of work right now for a weight loss client, and our positioning is him against the entire diet industry, him against counting points. How many of you know what I mean when I say that? Yeah. Yeah, if you're around people from that company who used to be a client of mine, the entire conversation is now points. Oh, I can have that because I only consumed 23.5 points so far this morning. So I get, oh, that's only this number of points. I mean, you know, you don't want to be the only one not counting points at lunch with them because the whole conversation is going to be about points. So that's an ingrained part of the weight loss culture now. So we're positioned against that. We're actually positioned against counting anything. And we're positioned against microwave TV dinners in a bag, which of course is a huge success right now for another weight loss company. So his positioning is defined by everything that he isn't. That's one way to get at it. There are others. But one way or another, you've got to carve out a position that is dramatic and dynamic and different. Rob Minton, a client of mine who markets a program to realtors, one per area, putting them in the business of dealing only with investors. So the positioning there is against everything the real estate agent hates about his business. So this business now eliminates open houses. It eliminates schlepping people around to look at houses. It eliminates sticking signs in yards. It eliminates working on Sundays. It eliminates, etc. So there's a long list of all the things every real estate agent hates about the real estate business. Right? And so it's a very strong position. So you need strong positioning. The third thing is you need some unique assets, and you need to go to some trouble to try and protect their uniqueness for as long as you can. So for a while, Domino's had a unique asset. It gradually went away. Enterprises had a unique asset. It gradually went away. And then you got to figure out what the next one is. It could be proprietary technology, like Infusion has a unique asset in proprietary technology. At some point in time, their ability to keep control of that particular asset will go away, and they need to have replaced it with other assets. You could have an exclusive relationship with some host who was endorsing you to a great group of customers. That's a unique asset, but it too will go away over time. There's a product, how many of you know the product Airborne? Okay, many of you. For those who don't, it's a fizzy tablet like Alka-Seltzer, packed with vitamin C and zinc and a bunch of other stuff, and you take it like if you're going to be here. So if you're going to be surrounded by germ-infested, toxic people in a tight, small space from which you might catch the cold or the flu, this product is designed to give you a little immunity system boost. Good thing to take when you get on a commercial airplane where all the air is recirculated and you don't get any fresh air. You're only getting the air of the other people on the plane. When Airborne came out, Airborne was the only game in town. They were a unique product briefly. Okay? There are now, of course, 6 million knockoffs of the product. And so, there, for example, there's Wallborn, which is Walmart's private label knockoff of Airborne. If I had brought them up here, carrying stuff became kind of a problem for me. But so if you had the tubes lined up, if you're not careful, you might even pick the wrong tube off the shelf because Walmart made their Wallborn tube look identical to the Airborne tube. The product is, by the way, fundamentally same. The unique asset they had that they did not properly exploit, and it is a really good unique asset, and in many times it's the only one you'll ever be able to protect, is the person behind the product. The Airborne story is it was invented by a school teacher who was sick of getting sick all the time from all the germ-infested kids in the classroom. Well, Again, a little tribute to our recently departed friend Gary Halbert. Halbert's formula, 3 S's: you need a star, you need a story, and you need a solution, and then you got a business. Well, they had a star, they had a story, they had a solution. They didn't use the star, and they didn't use the story, and they had their unique position taken away from them. You need unique assets if you're going to maintain an extreme competitive position. Tracy, can you grab the next one, please? You also need economic advantages. I've always said that I'd love to coach football, providing, for example, that I get to coach Notre Dame, and every Sunday we play the Akron Zips. I do not want to be coaching football if I'm coaching the Akron Zips and every week we play Notre Dame. That does not particularly appeal to me. So I only want to be in the game if I have profound advantage weighted in my favor. One of the most important things you can weight in your favor is the money. Okay? A whole lot of people come to me, by the way, with what they think are marketing problems, and they are not marketing problems, they are economic problems. The economics of their business have them so severely handicapped that they can't do well. Okay? So the big economic advantages are, number one, being able to outspend all of your competitors and still operate profitably. Okay? That's what you wish to aspire to. You want to get into a position somehow where you can outspend all your competitors, particularly on new customer acquisition, thereby having them think you're crazy or driving them crazy, and still maintain a profit. That will almost always be what goes on back end after the initial transaction, not during the initial transaction. If at all possible, you want to have premium prices because you want more margin than anybody else. You want a higher transaction value than anybody else, if not in your first transaction, somewhere in your entire system of transactions. You want to think about getting customers for whom price is not the primary and chief factor by which they make buying choices. Okay? There's a lot of people who make buying decisions purely based on price. A lot of people, but only 5% of the population. So we should be able to avoid them. It's only 5% of them. Right? So somewhere in Chicago last night, there's somebody who deliberately sought out Motel 6, stayed at Motel 6 purely because it was $29 and all they could afford was $29. No disrespect to them, but you and I shouldn't be building a hotel for them. Somewhere there's a person who stayed at the Ritz, and if the Ritz had offered them a deluxe room, they took the deluxe room, and if there was something better than the Ritz, they would have taken the Ritz, because for them price is no consideration whatsoever, and then everybody else kind of falls in between. You want to find customers for whom price is not the number one method by which they make a buying decision. It's only 5% of the population. You ought to be able to avoid them. You want larger total customer value. That's another way to get an economic advantage. I can outspend my competitor if my customer is worth 4 times as much to me as it is to him. And even though we're in the very same business, our customers have very different values. Skip a couple things. The next economic advantage source can be complex business systems. And again, it's another whole trigger that you're going to spend some time on as the day goes on. The most important thing I will tell you about it is you should lust after and be in love with complicated, painfully complicated marketing systems, sales systems, follow-up systems, operation systems. The more complicated they are, the less likely anybody else will be willing to use them after you master them and use them successfully. If your business consists of a really phenomenal full-page magazine ad and people call up and buy something on an 800 number, and that's the whole business, so you might think that's exciting. oh boy, I get to run one crappy ad and I get to go to the beach. Okay? Well, 20 years ago that was exciting. People did very well. Today it's not exciting because it's too easy to copy. And you can't maintain, the business has no sustainability. If it's got 412 steps and downsells and upsells and cross-sells and ascension ladders, and it uses multimedia and it integrates offline and online, well, you can put your 10 competitors in a room and you can draw it all out for them on a whiteboard, and one after another they're going to take a bathroom break, never come back. Okay? You don't got to worry about them copying it. They won't do it. That's an enormous economic advantage if your business is complex, not simple. Last, you just spent a big chunk of time on speed. What needs to be linked with speed is agility. Mental agility, financial agility, operational agility. So the reason the United States automobile industry is in enormous problems, number one is its legacy cost, but number two is it's very unagile. All right? To bring a new product to market is a 4 to 7 year cycle. Well, by the time they get it there, the factors that made it a good idea 4 years ago are already disappearing and being replaced with new factors. They're too slow. Chrysler decides to eliminate 13,000 jobs. You hear that, you read that in the newspaper, and everybody, oh my God, 13,000 jobs. Read the fine print. Over 8 years, they're going to eliminate those 13,000 jobs. Well, 8 years from now, who knows, right? You got to be more agile than that. So you got to be fast and you got to be agile to have economic advantage. I want to give you a demonstration, have you meet somebody who's done a very good job with all of these factors I just named in a business that is pretty commoditized, the pizza business, where you would not necessarily expect to be able to use much of our kind of marketing and to be able to hit these points successfully. But Diana has done a great job. Come up and join us, Diana. Do we have a stool for her? You know me in names, and I know you well, but is it Cotu?
Cotu. Close enough.
It's Cotu now. Diana is from the thriving Beverly Hills of Canada, Winnipeg, where you could spend a week and a night, and I have done so. It is not necessarily the market, if you were deciding from scratch today that you were going to get into the gourmet, high-priced pizza business, you might not seek out Winnipeg as your chief test market. But she was there, so there she was, right?
That's right.
And she's done, so as you kind of hear some of what she's doing and see some of what she's doing, now try and run back through your checklist of where extreme competitive advantage comes from. And let's start by talking about price, okay? So tell us about your prices, your average ticket, how it compares to what's going on in your industry.
Our average ticket is $27. It breaks down to $32 delivery, $27 for pickup, and it compares with the top performing chains. The lowest is $2 average ticket, and the highest is $15.
Okay, so you're at what? Not quite double.
Not quite double.
But close.
To the highest top performing chain.
To the highest top performing chain. And in your particular market, how do you compare?
We're premium priced. We're the most expensive in the city. In my city, we have 2 for $1, which is the norm, 3 for $1, and 4 for $1 pizza places.
Hey, there's a place at Phoenix doing 5 for $1. Okay, if you pick them up, they're 5 for $1. They're delicious. But understand, see, there's a place for them. See, because somewhere, see, they're serving the 5% of the market who makes their decision purely based on price, mostly because they must. So, working mom, no father in the picture, minimum wage job, 6 kids, got to fill them up with something. 5 pizzas for the price of one trumps 4 pizzas for the price of one. If they don't eat them all tonight, they get the rest of them tomorrow morning for breakfast. That's what goes to school for lunch. And guess what we're having for dinner? Calzone. That's the leftover pizza rolled up with a rubber band around it, right? Look, doesn't make them bad people, and it doesn't necessarily make that a bad business, but it's not a business you want to be in, right? And again, it's only 5% of the population. We can avoid them. So you're at an average ticket of $27, right? Tell me what allows you to get it. Let's start with positioning. I mean, how do you present yourself to the market in general?
In general, it's in the name. It's the name of the business is Diana's Gourmet Pizzeria. So right in the name we have something that tells people it's upscale. You don't get price choppers. You'll have people who are looking for you who will find you much easier because our name represents what we do.
She just said 2 very important things. One is there's a thing called price desensitization. And what it is it's meant to minimize sticker shock. Right? So if you had no frame of reference and you think of George Bush 1 getting caught not knowing what the barcode was, right? No fault, by the way. He hadn't been in a grocery store. He couldn't. Why would he be in a grocery store in 20 years, right? But it looked bad on camera, not knowing what a barcode was, right? Well, so if you had no frame of reference, if you say you were my father's age and you'd been in a coma for a decade and now went to shop for a car, right? And they quoted you for what looks like a shrunk down station wagon, which would be his frame of reference, $42,000. I can tell you exactly what he would say, all right? Because he said it when I brought one of them things around to show him. He said, it should have a porch, right? And it should do something which now I can't say in mixed company. So that would be his frame of reference, right? So if somebody walks in unprepared at all for premium pricing, they have sticker shock. So you want to do things to make the sticker shock go away before they see the sticker. Okay? Secondly, you want to make it easy for the people. In her case, all of her advertising and marketing is about making it easy for people who have a preference for luxury goods, premium priced merchandise, the best they can buy, you have a preference for it, to say, oh, that's what this is about. That's where she is. So a lot of people are afraid of that. They want to hide it. You don't want to hide it. You want to show it off. You want it to attract as well as to repel. Okay. So now, maybe in specific, just take us through a few of your advertising and marketing things.
Okay.
And what some of the triggers are in them and
Sure.
how they work and why they work.
First one is going to be my Yellow Page ad. And if you look in your pizza section, how many people have looked in their Yellow Pages since they've been here in the hotel? Excellent. If you look in the pizza section, what you often find is full color ads screaming about prices and nothing about any copy or anything else. Here we have a headline, "You'll love your pizza or it's free," which is the risk reversal headline. And some great copy in there, which introduces myself and my dedication to a great pizza, why. Some testimonials along the side, and few more triggers, things like call a toll-free number for a free report for 5 ways some ordinary pizza places cut corners. A lot of people don't know why they don't like making mediocre pizza. This report tells them what's in mediocre pizza, and of course why we're so much better. And a call to action with a phone number and a tracking method. So this ad pulls every month. It pays for itself. Usually we see returns about 40% ROI, and it's excellent. It's just worth its weight.
A couple quick things about it. Who wrote the headline?
I did.
I don't know if you know what you're doing or not, but it doesn't much matter if you get there. The other way you could have written that headline is, you'll love our pizza or it's free. Profound difference in the choice of the word. A little copy lesson, but words make a difference. The photo is important. The personality-driven nature of this business is important. And for the sake of time, I didn't do a big introduction, but like, she's won every award and some pizza competition in Italy. And how'd you do in Vegas?
Vegas, second place.
Second place. Wow.
Pizza of the Year 2007, second
There you
place,
go.
so.
Pizza of the Year. So testimonials for a pizza place. Not something a lot of people would think to do. The smart use of marketing technology. So you drive your most interested people to get more information via the free recorded message. You have an opportunity to capture, you have an opportunity to deliver a report. Websites are a way to expand the ad if they're used properly, and so forth. So you're going to be getting the scoop on all of that, and more importantly, how to force yourself into implementation of those tools today at lunch. So there you see a terrific Yellow Pages ad. What do we got next?
Next, it's our new customer acquisition. So the first page, first side is a sales letter. Yeah, where it's an invitation for people to give us a try. It says, you be the judge. If this isn't the best pizza you've ever had, we'll give you your money back. And an offer for free 2-liter and Parmesan garlic sticks. So we basically just send it out unaddressed ad mail with our menu to mass affluent and affluent homes in our area. And if you turn it over, I photocopied one of the various articles that have been written about our pizzeria and the awards that we've won, that sort of thing, with a little handwritten note to give us a try. So again, it's a great ad, normally with unaddressed ad mail, which you see for pizza flyers. You've all seen them, the glossy and 2 for 1 and price, that sort of thing. This is a value added, so it's not a discount, it's a value added, and it's personalized.
Quick, so the last thing she said is real important. No discounting in an industry where everybody discounts. Gift with purchase, value added, but no discounting. So we're staying congruent with the position all the way through. Very smart. The other thing is, if you even had a copy of this, what's more important than the copy is the selection of the list. Very important. She's not mailing to everybody within 5 square miles or whatever the norm would be in her industry. She's deliberately seeking out mass affluent and affluent homeowners. Okay, what do we got next?
Next we have our newsletter, due monthly newsletter. I haven't missed one for 53 consecutive months. So this is just a sample, and every month we do something called Taste of the Month. So it's usually a specialty cheese, or it's an upscale sophisticated pizza. For instance, we have Moosehead beer in our dough. One of our premium dough, one of our crusts is made with Moosehead beer. And this is just a vessel to feature those specialties, and the Taste of the Months are never discounted. They're always usually a premium price, usually more expensive than anything else on the menu, and keeps the menu fresh, keeps things interesting and exciting.
Most people get their monthly newsletters out roughly every 5 months. The word monthly is sort of important, you know. 53 consecutive months, good for you.
Thank you.
Okay, last, tell us quickly about continuity in your business.
I have a continuity program, so I have silver, gold, and platinum levels. And silver levels, the introductory level, we have 40 members, $25 a month. I charge their cards at the beginning of the month. They get $30 in, we call them Diana dollars, and a couple of bonus certificates. And then gold gets charged $50 a month at the beginning of the month. They get $65 to spend, and some bonus free frozen panzerottis and appetizers. And also we treat them real special. We give them extra gifts, free bonuses, certificate for a free taste of the month every quarter, and just generally better treatment than the rest of the customers, the general line.
I want you to think about what she's done. First of all, continuity in the restaurant industry is springing up, mostly thanks to us and through Rory Fatt Restaurant Marketing Systems. But for the most part, it's springing up in upscale, sit-down dining environments. And so the immediate reaction to this is, you can't do continuity with a pizza joint. You don't even have any dining.
We don't have dining.
You don't even have sit-down. This is all
delivery.
Pick it up, take it home, or we deliver it to you.
That's it.
So the first reaction would be you can't do it in this particular business. The real challenge is to figure out how to do continuity in anything. Okay? Because the transformation of the business is, if there's 300 people at $50 a month on the first day of the month before the first piece of dough hits an oven, there's $15,000 worth of revenue, which for a bricks and mortar pizza joint is a significant amount of money. Furthermore, most of them outspend
every other customer.
Well, not only do they outspend every other customer, but they outspend what they got in continuity. So you're really getting the money back twice during the month anyway. You got it on the first, and then you got it all month long while they use the coupons that they got in continuity for spending. Plus, locks them in. They're not going anywhere else, because if you're spending $50 a month to be able to get your pizza there, you're not. When you go to suddenly call up Pizza Hut, oh my God, I don't want to do that, because I'm in this club thing. It does a lot, transforms the entire business. I think if you go back to your checklist, you'll find she hit every single one of them. Thanks, Diana. You're doing a terrific job.
Thank you, Dan.
Now you're going to hear about the next phenomenon trigger from Lee Miltier, which is finding the hidden opportunities in the business.
Lee is going to be talking to you about hidden opportunities in the business, and just in case you don't know Lee Miltier is a peak performance coach, and she. I will tell you that she and I together, we have a new group that we are doing together, which is called Peak Performers. And we had our first meeting a couple of months ago. And she spent half of the day talking about peak performance, and I spent half of the time, it's 2 days, talking about peak performance, and I spent half the time talking about marketing. And I learned a whole lot listening to her about peak performance. And I said, gee, this is good stuff. And she really knows her business, and she's a really delight to have as part of our No BS team, because she really is one of the most sincere and nicest people that I work with, and just the kind of people that we want to be associated with. And the other thing that she does, she's famous, well, she's not so famous for, but I knew it, was that she watches out for Dan Kennedy, and especially in Dan's single days, which he's no longer single, by the way. Dan got married about 3 weeks ago. But in Dan's single days, she would call him every morning to make sure Dan was alive and breathing. So it was always nice to know that somebody was making sure that was happening. So she looks out for Dan as well. And a longtime friend of Dan Kennedy's, worked with him. Together they worked on the Renegade Millionaire System. So how many of you have the Renegade Millionaire System? If you've got the Renegade Millionaire System, you certainly know Lee Miltier, because she is woven throughout that entire process. So my good friend and my peak performance partner, Ms. Lee Miltier.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to tell a funny story on you, Bill. After the peak performers meeting, whenever I see Bill, he always gives me one of those, nice hug. It's very friendly. After the peak performers thing, after 2 days, he gave me this incredible, really strong hug. And I happened to mention this to Dan later on that night, and he says, well, that's because he recognized someone who that actually could do their job. He was so relieved somebody had competence. So, that's what we're always looking for in our life, someone who has competence, and what we want to have is that ourselves. But my topic in the next half an hour is about uncovering hidden opportunities. How do you respond to change? Now, when you have a Renegade Millionaire thought in your head, you respond to change totally different than the average person, because you're looking for opportunities, you're looking for ways to make money, you're looking for ways to step out and to be ahead of everybody else in your profession or your niche. You are, as a millionaire mindset person, literally taking change and figuring out this is good. Average people see change as fearful, they're scared, they become reactors to life. They stop using all their mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial resources. And they go into fear. And what happens is when you go into fear, you're not resourceful and you don't see those opportunities. I know when 9/11 happened for me personally, it was a great change in my life. Prior to 9/11, I have had a very lucrative career as a professional speaker. Big companies like NASA, Walt Disney, Ford, all these huge companies, associations, and conventions. When 9/11 happened, within 2 weeks of 9/11, every contract I had got canceled. My entire world changed. That nothing happened for almost a year because people weren't hiring professional speakers. Travel became hellacious. I realized I needed to find a way to change, to utilize my talents and abilities in a way that I would enjoy myself. And Dan and I were on the phone one day, and he said, you know, you've been a coach for a long time, and he made a suggestion. The change that I made was I created a done-for-you coaching program for other coaches. So I supply the right thinking to other people. So I'm now still utilizing the same skills, the same abilities, but I changed my life. Because change happened to me, instead of letting it best me, I then made it to my advantage. So now I don't have to travel that much. The only people I'm really traveling with at all is to go speak to my existing clients in my coaching program. I'm not doing any more corporate work. And as a vibrational frequency thing, and like attracts like, I am more in vibrational harmony with entrepreneurs than I am people in the corporate world. So this change has been very valuable for me. And again, you have to ask yourself this question. What changes are going on in my life right now that I can make money with? By the way, you think in questions. The more resourceful questions you ask yourself, you literally tell your brain to search for the answer. And so whenever you're stymied by anything, the most intelligent thing you can do, renegade millionaire thinking, is ask questions. How can I utilize this? How can I make money from this? How can I do exactly what I'm doing but better, but tweak it? Because change is absolutely a fabulous thing for you to have in your life. And renegade millionaire people like change because it gives them an opportunity they wouldn't have. Because all of us tend to stay in our comfort zones. And what change makes you do is look at yourself and ask yourself, am I utilizing my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial energies, that life energy, in valuable ways? So change is a very important thing. Never be afraid of change. It's always going to open up wonderful doors for you. Adversity. I think Napoleon Hill said there is a seed of opportunity in every adversity. And you know, when we're in adversity, when everything is going wrong, that's the last thing we think of. But when you think like a renegade millionaire, you realize that there is a seed. Think of every important person, successful person in our world. Usually their success comes about due to the fact there was some adversity in their life. And you know, it's interesting, and you might want to write this down. What you focus on expands. What you focus on expands. So, when you have adversity in life, instead of saying, why is this happening to me, and oh, poor me, and pity parties and all that stuff, nix that. What I want you to do is go, the question, how can I make money from this adversity? What new markets, what new opportunities, what new people, what ways can I tweak my business? Who can I connect with? Who can I JV with? What new products can I create in life? Because the millionaire mindset literally knows that when there's adversity in your life, you can arrange yourself to be ahead of everybody else in your field. A great example of adversity is, I don't know how many of you know Stephen Snyder. Is Stephen here by any chance? Well, Stephen had a lot of adversity in his life. He went through bankruptcy. Now, he took this adversity of bankruptcy and he utilized it, and he made himself a wealthy man. Because he had bankruptcy, he wrote a best-selling book, and the book is called Credit After Bankruptcy. From that book, he started doing seminars. Last year, he had 250,000 people, just a mere 250,000 people who are having credit problems come to his seminars. Now, because of that adversity, he has turned this into a gold mine, because now he is the authority on credit scores. So again, you have to look in your life at what adversity you can utilize. By the way, as a speaker, and I'm sure you've all noticed, by the way, how many of you have read Dan Kennedy's autobiography? For anybody who hasn't read that, this would be a book you would really want to read. Dan and I have been friends over 20 years, and I have to tell you, when I read that book, I was shocked. I thought I knew everything about Dan Kennedy. And the adversity that he shares, he is so open about all the problems he's ever had. And when you realize someone as successful as Dan Kennedy has gone through all these things, and each one of those things has made him such a strong person, because I honestly think that there are very few people who could have been in a horse accident laying flat on your back with thousands of pounds of animal flesh coming your way that could be here in 2 days. I mean, that is amazing. Because of his commitment to honor his commitments, because he's been through every bad thing that's ever happened on the face of the earth almost, it was almost like, no big deal, you know, I'm going to be there. Another person who's had a lot of adversity is Sydney Barrows, and most of you may know her as the Mayflower Madam. Now that should wake you up this afternoon, right? Now, Sydney's business and personal life was destroyed all at the same time. Because of it being destroyed at the same time, she was smart enough to write a best-selling book on her experience, and it was named the Best Business Books of the Year by Fortune magazine, which of course led to her being asked to tour to the Young Presidents Organization. So she toured all around the United States to the Young President Organization, and now, again, because of that adversity which she took advantage of, she is developing a sales consulting business with Dan and Glazer Kennedy. So, and I've read her stuff and listened to it, and it's really fabulous. The next opportunity is how you leverage assets. Ron Carruthers, I need you up here. How you leverage your assets, your time. You have to have control of your time and your productivity. How you leverage your experience. By the way, a lot of people think that as professional speakers that, you know, you only want to tell success stories. That's not true. People don't really care about success stories. What they really care about is overcoming adversity stories. Like, I am a farmer's daughter from Chuckytuck, Virginia, and I grew up, you know, in a very dysfunctional alcoholic family with all kinds of problems. Let me tell you something. That made me a very strong person. So once you understand that people don't want perfection, I make every mistake on the book. I forget what I'm talking about. I have fallen off stages. We do everything wrong. You almost endear yourself to people when you think like a renegade millionaire, when you're true. And, you know, Dan is the first one to let all of his warts show. And so get out of that mindset of the average personality that you always have to be perfect. Right? Hang in there, Ron. You're not going anywhere. Great. Next thing we're going to talk about, because we're going to go back to leveraging assets with Ron, is fresh eyes. Now, let me tell you something. I'm always amazed that people who missed a Glazer Kennedy event of any kind. You know, there is such a wealth of opportunity here in this room that it is mind-boggling. The JV opportunities, the opportunities for someone who doesn't know you at all to give you a spark of a thought, a way to do things differently by just listening to people. And so we always need fresh eyes. We need to be exposed to how other successful people in our business and outside of our business see things. We need smart people who can see what you cannot see. The next one is the ability to recognize opportunity. Dan called me, I guess it was 3 years ago one day, and he was just yakking, and he says, I got this idea about doing the Renegade Millionaire. And I could send you all my stuff, and you could just, you know, listen to it and create some questions, and we create this new product. I had no idea when the UPS guy came to my door and dropped off a box, a room full of boxes, what I'd gotten myself into. However, it was an opportunity of a lifetime. Even though I spent 7 months researching all of his lifetime stuff, when we actually recorded, I was still writing notes. Now, the reason I mention that, to recognize opportunities, I can tell you that anytime Dan Kennedy says to me, let's do something, or Bill Glazer says to me, let's do something, I rarely even think about it long enough other than to say, yes, let's go for it. Because I know that associating myself with really powerful people who are very smart people, that joint venturing with them will not only will assist all of us. So you've got to recognize opportunities. And sometimes you get caught up in busy work where you're so busy that there's this wonderful little opportunity that has come your way, but you think, I don't have time. I'm too busy. My schedule is already full. That is a very negative way to look at life, and renegade millionaire people always stop, pause before you turn something down. That's important. I'm going to start asking Mr. Ron here some questions. Ron, we're going to talk about assets and things, so tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Okay. My name is Ron Carruthers. I'm a college planner from Carlsbad, a suburb north of San Diego in California. And for the last 12 years, I've been immersed in the college planning world. And basically the story is I was my high school's valedictorian. I didn't go to college. We didn't have any money. So I began to research that, and it became a business for us. And so I can kind of give you the before and afters,
Please.
or you can ask me whatever. But talking about uncovering hidden assets, when I came and got immersed in the world, previous to, and I'll throw this up here so you guys can take a look at it, and then you can ask me whatever
Please.
you want to ask me. But basically, in my year before I joined one of Dan's coaching groups, my revenue was $432,000 in 2004. So I don't know if you guys can read my messy writing and stuff, but that was what it was. It was mainly fees, and we had one revenue source outside of fees. And so we grossed 432, and I probably netted just under 50% of that. And so by immersing in a coaching group, I'll show you taking the one business. We'll talk about adding other businesses in a couple minutes. But this year, that same business, same number of clients, essentially same number of employees, everything, it's going to gross over 2.2 this year, and my net is a lot higher than 50% on this now. And we added mortgages. That came from a conversation with Scott Tucker, as much as I hate to admit that publicly, that I even know him, let alone listen to his advice. But a lot of parents hadn't saved for college at all, and we were referring out, they had nowhere else to go but their mortgage. We were referring that out. I had no idea how much money was involved in that. All I know is the girl that we referred him to, every time I saw her, she was driving a new car, and even if it was only like 2 months between, and it was a nicer car than the one she had before. And I'm a little slow. I never made the connection that I was the one paying for that. And so that business, I don't think we'll get it to $1 million this year. It'll be just shy of it. It'll be like 925, 950. But it's a profit center that didn't exist for us 3 years ago, that came out of Scott mentioning what he made on a mortgage, and me going, ooh, you made what on that mortgage again? And that was really one of the shifts there. And then another shift before you get to the questions was my very first Dan event, and Dan talks about getting one thing out of event or one writer downer, and it was hearing a guy named Larry McIntyre who wasn't even there. They were speaking about him. Does anybody know who Larry McIntyre is? He runs a dating service for born-again Christians. And so he was charging in an industry where the norm is you sign up and it's $30 or $40 or $50. He was getting $7,000. And it made me realize that even though I was charging more than my peers in my industry for what I did, we were nowhere near what we should have been. And so our price elasticity, we have prices that go up into the $30,000 and $40,000 range of fees for us.
What was your original fee?
My original fee was $495.
So he's gone from $495 to
essentially, our mid-range client is in the mid-thousands dollars, but we have a concierge program now, a top end, 40 grand. Now, another thing is that came out of this is I was joking one of these a couple of years ago with Brian Sachs about, what do you do? And for those of you who don't know, Brian and his people, they're in a loan officer business. They train them, and I'm being funny and like, oh, yeah, I'm in that business too, because we'd closed like 2 loans to date. And I was telling him how it worked and how many loans a month we were referring out. And he was like, you got to be kidding me. I have a whole audience for that would really be interested in that. So that led to us creating a coaching business. That business, to teach people how to be college planners, is going to bring in $4.1 million this year in fees, and it brings in royalty income of about $350,000 a year from vendors and suggestions and things like that. And then the continuity on that is $1.1 million a year. And so again, it's a total, I didn't come in thinking that that's what I was going to get out of this, but that's what ended up happening. Then hanging around the information marketers, we've created a business that's a retail business where basically, and again, I don't know if you guys can see that, but my income comes, a lot of it from me or staff meeting with clients one-on-one, but we realize 90% of what we say to them, probably closer to 95 or 96%, is the exact same thing. So now we have an information product that we're just getting launched, and our initial tests show it's going to be worth about $1.3 million a year. And so again, it was just being exposed to ideas, adapting what else was around, and then we've got other stuff we're working on for 2008, including an investment company for parents who want to help their kids buy their first house. And so it's just being open to the opportunity.
So what advice would you like to give folks out here on how they can uncover opportunities?
Well, I think the being open to it is the one thing. And I think Dan made a very good point, which is true of everybody that I know, is that there is a closed loop between knowledge gathering and between the people who are the most successful in implementation. Those three go hand in hand. And so again, it goes back to the copywriting last ever boot camp, in 2000 whenever. I can't tell you one word that was said, except I heard about Larry McIntyre charging what he charged, which began this revolution of everything that we did. The VIP meetings that I was in 2005, I can't tell you what we talked about in every one of those meetings, but it was Tucker's comment about, oh yeah, I make about this a mortgage. It was like, what? And so it's the constantly exposing yourself, and then again, implementing all the other strategies. We didn't build the coaching program first and then go sell it. We sold 20 areas, and then went, we got to deliver something here, time to get to work, and then the resources marshaled themselves. So I found transcriptionists to take everything that I was telling and type it all up. I found somebody else to create manuals from what they knew about me, and we got it done. And yeah, there might be typos in it, but it got done.
And you created speed.
And forced speed, because I made obligations that I had to fulfill.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now let's move to Bill Glazer, where he shares with you the next phenomenon trigger called systems.
I'm going to share with you the next trigger, and then we're going to have, but this is going to be a big show and tell. I've got 3 of our Renegade Millionaire members that are going to be up here talking about this, and then Dan's going to be coming back with you and finishing up the balance of the day with you. And this is a trigger that talks about systems, and with this I'm going to need Clay Mask up here, and I need Ted Thomas is going to be up here, and I also need Scott Tucker up here. So those are the 3 folks that we're going to showcase for you. Talking about, I'm going to go through these overheads with you very quickly, because I really want to spend as much time as possible with you so you get to hear from these 3 folks about what they're doing, because they are really a great example of how this whole idea of systems can significantly increase what you're doing in your business so that you can experience the phenomenon. You guys can come up if you want. I got stools up here, and it's lonely up here and all that other stuff. Okay, in terms of the overhead that are on the slide, on the big screens here that you can't read, just a couple things. And again, I'm going to go through this quick because I really want you to hear from these folks. Number one is different people that have put systems in place in order to make the phenomena happen. So the first one is this issue of wealth. And certainly Ford in the automotive industry were famous for it in two ways. One system that they put in place was the whole assembly line system. And the assembly line system revolutionized the way that cars are made and still being made today. The second thing that they put in place, which also revolutionized the way that cars were sold, was Henry Ford was the first person to have a dealership, to have dealers out there. And there are now 3,500 Ford dealers in the United States. And before that, the car makers were making it, were selling it themselves, but he was the one that figured out, like instead of me having 3,500 locations, I can now have 3,500 dealers actually being my salespeople for me. It made him at the time the dominant automotive maker. If you've noticed, of recent times, they haven't been as successful, but they clearly have revolutionized by using systems. They revolutionized the way that cars were sold and made. Market dominance. So to have dominance in the market. Clearly, McDonald's is a great example of this. Of using systems in their business in order to dominate the market. And if you look at the other large fast food purveyors, whether they're Burger King or Popeyes or whatever the names are, none of them have the dominance that McDonald's has, because McDonald's has figured out how to do the systems in order to dominate the marketplace. And certainly not because they're hiring the smartest 16-year-old kids. I mean, they're not. What they've done is they figured out how to make systems themselves in order to be able to combat the fact that they've got people working there that really aren't that skilled. Ordinary to extraordinary business. Once again, Walmart did that. I mean, basically, Walmart was no different than any other mass merchandiser that was out there. But what they did was they took a very ordinary type of retail business, and by marrying it together with low price and also with massive amount of selection, they were able to marry those two together and take a very ordinary business and make it extraordinary. And today, they are the largest retailer in the world. Enhanced ability to implement solutions to barriers is another way to use systems in order to experience the phenomenon. So, for example, the two examples we have up here is Amazon.com is one, and so this whole ability to implement, so they put together a system to allow you to find what you want online so that you can move there quickly. And again, they have become dominant. In addition to that, Infusion, which we'll be hearing more about in a few moments, has using their software. What's unique about their software versus other CRM softwares that's out there is this whole notion of being able to put together systems in order to in order to implement your marketing that you want to have marketed, as well as your customer relationship management. Local to global. I'm going from local to global. Systems again. I mean, we had Jim McCann that was here last year, the founder of 1-800-Flowers. Systems in place in order to go from local to global. Certainly one of the, which Jim shared with us last year, one of the big breakthroughs in their whole systems was going online. So once they went online, they significantly opened up the amount of territory, the amount of terrain that they could now dominate, the amount of people that they could do business with. This next one is interesting, which is personal liberty. This is one actually that Dan and I originally talked about where we talked about systems. And we used it specifically about copywriting because both of us do so much copy. We write so much copy either for ourselves or for clients of ours. And the only way that we're able to get as much copy out as we get, and it's the question I hear all the time, is, Bill, how do you get so much stuff out? Is even my copywriting, I have to put together systems in order to do that. For example, for my BGS marketing system, I have a newsletter that I write, which is called the Outside the Box Marketing Newsletter. And when I first started, I've been writing it for 9 years. When I first started writing, it took me, early on, it took me about 12 hours to write. And then I got it down to, 20 hours to write. Then I got it down to 12 hours to write. And now I've got it down to 6.5 hours to write the same amount of content that it used to take me 20 hours to write. And why? Is because I've set up systems within my office that I write it at, which is my home office, I write that one at, where throughout the entire month I'm looking for things that I can use in my newsletters. And what I do is I categorize that. So I put it into some kind of a folder, and I keep accumulating these folders for different categories. So now when I go to write it, I have a tremendous amount of information readily available to me so that it all sort of comes together quickly. And so I don't have to do much thinking about it. No research at all is done. It's just automatically all put together for me. So it's a way to give me liberty to not make me have to spend 20 hours writing something. Now I can do that thing in just 6.5 hours. A couple of things also in terms of systems that I'll just sort of tell you about, that we give you sort of a glimpse into the world of Glazer, Kennedy, Inner Circle. One of them is new customer member acquisition program.